So if you all listen to the latest episode of my podcast, that's right, I have a podcast now, and you should all go totally check it out. You might remember that I said that I was excited to go see the new Venom movie, not because I had faith that it would be good, but because I wanted to see if it would be as much of a dumpster fire as I thought it would. I mean, with it being from the notoriously bad Sony, and the story about Tom Hardy's favorite stuff getting cut out, it just has to be a train wreck, right? Well, having now seen the movie, and having had some time to collect my thoughts, let's jump into my review. Starting from the top, the plot of Venom is overtly simple. On the one hand, you have a mad scientist-like CEO with the god complex called Carlton Drake, who is obsessed with space and human evolution, so he has his bioengineering corporation called Life Foundation bring back some symbiotic life forms from a nearby comet and begin testing them illegally on some people no one will miss. On the other hand, we have our protagonist Eddie Brock, who is a down-on-his-luck investigator after losing his girlfriend and job for trying to go up against the corrupt Drake and his less than ethical company. Through some plot shenanigans, Brock ends up with a symbiote inside him, and as should be of no surprise to anyone, teams up with the space entity to become the creature known as Venom and put a stop to Drake's evil plans. And oh yeah, along the way, he learns about the power of friendship. No, really, I'm serious. Well, you might be listening to this and thinking, damn, that sounds terrible. The crazy part is that while there are indeed problems with this movie, which I'll get to, it was surprisingly not as much of a dumpster fire as I thought it would be. Starting this review off with the positives, one thing that I really liked and thought was done quite well was the relationship between Eddie and Venom. While the trailers are kind of a way that makes the film seem like Eddie Brock is going through some really dark body horror stuff, the movie doesn't really focus on that and is actually more of like a buddy cop sort of thing, with two individuals engaging in some fun banter as they learn to work together. With Eddie providing a suitable body for Venom to live in, and Venom providing Eddie with powers to fight off any and all threats Drake throws at him, the two definitely need each other, and seeing how they learn to coexist in one body was actually pretty interesting. Another thing that I enjoyed about the movie was the comedy aspect. While once again, I did not at all expect the movie to go in this direction, I will admit that I had a lot of fun and had a few laughs throughout the film. While some moments, such as those near the beginning in which Tom Hardy bumbles around and seems to channel Nick Cage-style over-the-top acting, may have been unintentionally funny, there were several intentional comedic moments as well. Whether it was stuff like Venom as a voice in Eddie's head making fun of how much of a coward he is, or the two engaging in a conversation on whether or not it is appropriate to eat certain people, I'll admit there was some pretty good jokes in the film. Finally, the last thing I wanted to point out that I liked were the scenes where Eddie would transform into his Venom form. Going into the film, I was afraid that these scenes would be few and far between, but fortunately, this was not the case. While the choice to go with a PG-13 rating over an R rating definitely tones these scenes down, I still thought that they were pretty fun in their own way. I mean, if I guess I had to compare them to anything, I guess you could say it's kind of like seeing the Hulk go crazy and do some damage to everything around him, I guess. Not only that, but the scene in which he fights off some SWAT members in a smoke-filled room, I thought was a pretty cool choice because it had some horror movie vibes to it, and it was kind of a creative way to have him pick them all off. With all that being said though, I do want to address the issues with the movie, which there are quite a few. For starters, the overall plot is pretty bad, and everything about the whole space exploration thing is really boring. Well, I get that they had to make something new up because of how this isn't tied to Spider-Man or the MCU, that whole aspect of the movie just feels so slapped together, and like something you would find in an early 2000s superhero movie made by people who know nothing about the source material. Another thing that I thought was a problem with the movie is that apart from Eddie Brock and Venom, none of the other characters in this movie are very interesting or feel important. The main villain, Carlton Drake, doesn't feel like much of a threat and is largely forgettable. Eddie's ex-girlfriend doesn't bring anything to the table and feels like she overstays her welcome. And as for all the people that Venom fights, they either aren't important enough for us to ever learn their names, or look just like him but are a lighter shade of gray. Finally, I think that a huge problem with the movie is that it has quite a bit of an identity crisis. Apart from the very obvious issues regarding it not having any connections to the MCU and trying to stand on its own, there's also the tonal inconsistency. While the footage from the trailer sold it as this dark, hardcore monster film, and there are indeed some scenes that reflect this, the fact that they bounce back and forth between this and a more comedic buddy cop feel can be rather jarring. This maybe wouldn't be much of an issue if it was handled in a way similar to Deadpool, where it is allowed to stretch its legs and do what it pleases, but the fact this movie is rated PG-13 and is obviously toned down, instead of shooting for a hard R rating, makes the whole thing feel weird, and like the studio didn't know what it wanted. I mean, why choose to make a movie about a scary looking alien creature with huge razor sharp teeth if you're just going to cut away every time he bites down on someone? Now, I know I've been throwing a lot of points out there, and this whole thing may sound confusing, so basically what I'm trying to get to is this. While I went into this movie expecting a total trash fire, I will admit I came out having quite a bit of fun. Yes, the plot is bad, tone is all over the place, and most characters are a waste of space. However, the comedic aspect and interactions between Eddie Brock and Venom kind of make up for it. While I in no way think that you should rush to your nearest theater to watch it, I feel like it is the kind of thing that you might enjoy watching at some point if you have some time to kill and want to have some dumb fun. But hey, that's just my opinion. And remember, don't take anything I say too seriously. After all, I'm just a wannabe reviewer. Thanks for watching.